Okay, let's talk about protection when shit hits the fan. Everybody should have one of these. And all these have been checked. They're all clear, by the way. Everybody should have one of these. That's a 45 Taurus, that one is. But you have to decide what is best for you, and you're best to go in and practice with some and see which one you like. That's a pretty heavy one. You can get ones that are a lot lighter. You should have some personal protection just on what's going on in the world. Now, what kind of weapon would you use if shit hit the fan? We got a lot of choices. We really do. I could go with an AR-15. Now, the problem with the AR-15 is extremely heavy. We got a laser sight here. We've got a flashlight here. We've got a scope. I mean, this thing is, you know, all set up to hunt bear. One problem with running something like this gun is heavy. It's like 15 pounds, maybe more. It's a heavy gun. And to be carrying something like this if you're walking wouldn't be such a great idea. So this, if I was bugging in and I was holding a perimeter around my property, then this would probably be one gun that I would walk around with. Now, if I'm wearing my vest, then I would wear that. And then we got this choice. We've got the old reliable AK. You know, if you'll notice, any problem in the world or any war anywhere, you'll see them carrying these. They're known for shooting no matter what. Cover them in mud, step on them. I mean, these things just work. They don't usually jam. I mean, they just go. This is iron sights. It probably weighs about 12 pounds. Very light gun. And that's why most people use these across the world in any skirmish, simply because they just work. The guy that actually invented this actually said he was very sad that he actually invented this because of how many lives it's taken. It's quite a history behind the AK. So, what else we got? Compound bow, please. So now we could run a compound bow, and you'll find out that a lot of this stuff has limitations, but then it has good things. Now, a compound bow, for example, something like this, is extremely light. You can add sights to it. These are really affordable. I mean, these are like $100, $150. They're, you know, really cheap. And they'll take small game. The only problem with a recurve bow, okay, is, okay, stuff like this. Now, these are wooden arrows, and wooden arrows can warp if they get moisture to them. I mean, stuff like that. This is a heavy arrow, and these are handmade. You actually have to get your arrows handmade for a compound bow. This one's a target point with a blunt end, good for small game. The quiver you're looking at, in case anybody wants to know, that is real rattlesnake. That is handmade leather. This was custom made for me. And it does carry quite a few arrows. Now, recurve bows, you can also take them down. Now, my newest toy is this one here, which is the Matthews. And this is a compound bow. Almost 300 foot per second. When you set this at 20 yards and you draw this, 20 yards is quite a ways, it's going to hit every time dead on, as long as you're not shaking all over the place. This particular Matthews is 33 inches from this end to this end, and they do make other ones, a 31 inch and a 29 inch. The problem is when you get into smaller, like the 29 inch, the bow tends to wave a little bit more, and you can't shoot as far. But with a 33 inch, if you're in between some branches and you're up in a deer stand it makes it a little more difficult. So there are goods and bad points to everything, as you can see here. This really doesn't have much of a learning curve to it once you've got it all set up. Mainly it's just pulling it, practicing with it, getting the muscles in your breast strong, and allowing you to hold this for a long time and getting used to it. You're building up your muscle, and you're building this up where you can hold it in front of you. So this does require a little bit of physicalness to shoot, where if you didn't have that much physical training, the recurve would probably be a much better way to go. And that's the Matthews. And boy, that's a beautiful bow. You know that? Now this is the one I would take if shit hit the fan. But every person has to decide their own. Now, something to consider, a lot of people don't consider, is a favorite, the Crossbow. This Crossbow belonged to my dad, and when he passed, it was given to me. But my dad loved this Crossbow. I probably should change this string out because it's never been changed. I should probably get it taken in and change the string out. You put your hand on each side, you pull. It has a foot pedestal there, you'll see, which you set on the ground, stick your foot in it. You put the butt of it into your belly, and then you pull that all the way up. A lot of pounds per square inch to do that. Slide your bolt in. They run scopes. And again, they're pretty quiet. Not as quiet as the compound or the recurve. The recurve is probably the quietest. But they do the job. Now, this one, this one's old. This one's over 20 years old. And it's definitely got some weight to it. It's probably 10 pounds, I would say, in total. They got new ones out I was looking at when I was at the sports store. But boy, they're pricey. I mean, they were $2,200. I was like, wow. They got a lot of price on that. But they got some fancy crossbows down there where the limbs fold up. And it's just really impressive how technology's even gone with that. So the bottom line comes down to you're going to need some form of weapon. And a lot of people think it's to protect themselves, and it really isn't. A lot of it is eating and staying alive. This should be your protection every day. And even if SHTF happens and you got to leave in your vehicle, you should have one of those. Now, if I'm leaving in my vehicle and my vehicle works and there wasn't an EMP or something, then I could take anything I want. I take the AR, take the AK, I could take both. I mean, weight's not an issue. I got a big truck, I got a 2500 Dodge Ram, I can take as much weight as I want. But if you start carrying stuff on your back and you start thinking, well, I might go with a 22. A lot of people say a 22 is the way to go because it's a lot lighter. I think it's 6 pounds, 7 pounds for a 22, then you got your ammo. But the problem with that is it's noisy. Bang, crack. I mean, it makes a noise when it goes off. And depending on how long you get into a situation with SHTF where everything goes down for 6 months, the next thing you know it, when a crack goes off or a bang, you might as well say it's a dinner bell. Because anybody that hasn't eaten in a couple of weeks, they're going to be following that sound as quick as they can. Now, you probably don't want to take deer simply because if you take it, you don't want to take deer because unless you're in a group, you're in a group of 10 guys or something, and you could probably eat that deer in 1 or 2 sittings, then it would probably be worth doing that. But if you're in a family of, 2, 3, you're probably going to want to live off the fish and small game. Now, one thing's for sure, try not eating for 3 days and see what that does to your body. Everybody will say, oh, you can live a month without food. You can. You can live longer than that if you're heavy set. I mean, I've seen people on YouTube go 6 months without eating, and all they've done is eat electric lights and, vitamins and stuff like that. But these are very, very large, obese people. They're like 600 pounds. And they can do it because the fat that's on your body will eat. And obviously, the fatter you are, the longer you can go without eating. But the problem with it is that you're drained. You have no energy. You feel like... you feel dreary, you feel tired, you get headaches. It's no fun. And if you did get into a confrontation with somebody, you're just not going to be able to move as quick. You're not going to be as much as that dead shot you want to be looking down that scope or anything like that. So eating will be the #1 priority, and shelter if it's the wintertime. And that's going to be a big thing for everybody. I would go to compound bow. I would still carry my handgun. I'm sure I could kill a rabbit with a handgun or a squirrel, but I don't want that bang going off and having everybody say, hey, here I am, come get me. I would use my compound bow. I would take out the rabbit, and that's it. Recurve bows, okay, they're cheap. You can get them for $100, $150. You look around, and you got to run wooden arrows through them. And if you teach yourself the skill of making wooden arrows, you'll never run out. But you have to take the time to teach yourself this. You just can't buy this and not go to the range or practice with it. You might as well carry a stick with a spear. Because if you're not going to practice with it and learn how to use it and be good with it and be proficient, then there's no point to carrying all that weight. There really isn't. To buy this and set it on the shelf, don't put it in your bugger bag. It's going to be no good for you. All these items require practice, require skill, and time to use. It's like lighting a fire. You'll find out that most preppers on YouTube, I'd say 90%, don't even light a fire. They don't even know how. Go out and make a video for 10 minutes and use a ferro rod, a match, I don't care what you use. And make 3-4 different types of ways to make a fire. Make yourself somewhat proficient so you could stay warm. You have to do a little bit of stuff to have some of these skills, and you got to practice at it. You can't just ignore it. My wife, she carries a 9mm Colt all the time. And minimum, once a month, she's out shooting. Minimum. It'd be nice if it was more, but ammo prices tend to slow all that down. Sometimes we've gone out more, but it's usually once a month is when we go out. And you have to decide what is going to be your... Now, I can't take all this. That would be 100, 200 pounds. That would be ridiculous, right? You have to decide what's best for you. But if money is a concern, and I know some subs that watch me, money is a big concern, consider getting a nice affordable handgun. You can get them for $200-300 if you look around. Even cheaper if you look around, you might get a deal. And consider a recurve bow if you can pull it. Because recurve bows are affordable. You can kill rabbits, squirrels, you're going to eat. All you got to do is get good with it. And then take the time to learn how to make arrows. They may not fly perfectly straight, and they don't have to fly perfectly straight. Understand this. We're living in really good times now where all that can be where we want that. But when the Indians made arrows for their bows, they didn't always fly perfectly straight. Sometimes those arrows went through the air like that. They weren't perfect. And the whole goal of it is, who cares if the arrow's going through the air like this? If it goes into the rabbit or the squirrel and you got them, well, that's all that matters. Because sometimes it's not so easy to find an arrow as straight as you can. A lot of times they used, I think it's called milkweed. The tubing from that is what they used. And a lot of times they would take a stick and put it over the fire to heat the sap inside of it. And then they had another stick with kind of a hole in it so they could bend and twist and pull it down to straighten it out. A lot of work went into one arrow. Sometimes it would take an Indian, a good 3 hours, if not more, to make an arrow. And you'd think, wow, that's time consuming. If you're not doing nothing and you're sitting there, well, you're just making arrows for a couple of weeks. That's what you're doing. So what do you think would be a good weapon to have around the house? And what do you think is a good weapon to have in your vehicle? What is a good weapon to have if you're bugging out with your backpack, if that's what you plan to do? Tell me which weapons you consider are good and why. Why do you think they're good? Did you consider weight? Did you consider training? Did you consider skill? Did you consider everything there is to carrying that weapon? And what are your reasons for having it? So give that some thought. I'll catch you guys on the next one.